Before we get into making this tasty meal, I need y'all to go ahead and like this video, subscribe to my channel, and tune in to see how we create this wonderful meal.
I be so sick of you niggas, you're contradicting. I be so bold myself, then you come and fuck me. I feel so ordinary, stepping you won't.
So things you're going to need to recreate this meal, definitely going to need your steak, whether it's cube steak, whether it's flank steak, whatever kind of steak you want to make. Then you're going to need some broccoli. I use broccoli as my green. You're going to need potatoes, green pepper, onion. You're going to need whatever seasonings you want to use. I typically stick to like the Cajun seasoning, garlic pepper, garlic salt, all-purpose seasoning, things like that. Then you're going to need your cheeses. This time I use Monterey Jack and sharp cheddar cheese. I switch up my cheeses with my macaroni all the time, so just pick whatever flavor you're going for. And then I added some rolls to the side with butter and honey topping. First and foremost, we're going to start off with the prep. We're going to get our potatoes nice and clean, get all that dirt and craziness that comes up out the ground with them out of the potatoes. Now after that, we're going to go ahead and peel the potatoes. I sometimes like to leave some skin on. Sometimes I like to peel them all the way. It's all personal preference. But what I do like to do is get those, I think they're called like spuds, whatever those little sprouts are coming out the potatoes, any like molding, anything that's making the potato look like it's nasty, okay? And like I'm not supposed to be eating it. I don't really know how to describe it, y'all. But I just get all of that out. Y'all will kind of see me doing it in the camera, but I just like my potatoes to look nice, whole, and healthy, okay? Period, point blank. And they're getting mashed up, so it doesn't really matter if it's even or if it's odd shaped. All of that doesn't matter. We just want to make sure that we're peeling all that's necessary off of the potatoes. So this is another step that I sometimes do, sometimes I don't. Cutting the potatoes up before I get ready to boil them. This time I decided to do it because I just wanted the process to be a lot quicker and a lot smoother for me. So I went ahead and cut up the potatoes so that they would cook faster. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and get my potatoes ready to boil because those are gonna take the longest for me to cook. So now I'm gonna go ahead and get the potatoes started and get those all boiled. I know that the potatoes are gonna probably take the longest to cook, so that's why I started them first. Next, I'm gonna cut up my green pepper. I'm gonna cut the inside out because we don't need that. And then I just cut them, I just kind of like slice them. I don't really cut them up into bits and pieces, and I don't want them chunky because I just want them to lay on my pepper steak, if you get my drift. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and cut the onion. Listen, don't talk to me about the right way to cut an onion. I don't know. I don't. I see all these TikTok hacks, all these different ways to cut stuff and do things, and it goes in one eye and out the other, okay? Okay, like I try, y'all. I try my best, and I just try and make sure I'm not cutting myself. So that's how I cut things up. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But listen, I'm nobody's chef, okay? Let's get that established. I am nobody's chef. I'm just here having a good time while I'm cooking, all right? And my food be good, so I say, why not? Share it with the world. But, you know, I'm slicing up my onions. Like I said, I want these, just like my peppers, I want these to just lay on my pepper steak, okay? I don't need no extra. I just want them to lay on my pepper steak and give them that pepper steak taste. Okay, so I have the block cheese of Monterey Jack. I'm going to go ahead and cut that up. The reason I don't have block cheese of the other cheeses this time is simply because we already had cheese at home. So I wasn't about to go out and buy block cheese when we already had the shredded version at home. It's Kroger cheese, so honestly, it's the same dang on thing. Okay, sometimes I use the shredded cheese, like the prepackaged shredded cheese. Sometimes I shred my own cheese. It all really just depends on my mood. Sometimes I don't want to like go through the hard labor of shredding your own cheese. I really could have shredded up the cheese instead of cutting the cheese this time, but I didn't realize that my mom had a cheese shredder at home. So, you know, it just all depends on my mood and if I'm feeling fancy or not. Now I'm going to put the water on for the macaroni noodles. I set that too high so it boils, and then I'm going to pour the noodles in later. All right, let's get into the main event, the steak, okay? So I did season it on a cutting board, and I started with seasoning with the Cajun seasoning. Anybody's Cajun seasoning, listen, that's just what we had in the cabinet, okay? Like I said, I wasn't going out and buying a bunch of groceries. I used what we had. Then I'm going to go in with that complete seasoning. Don't know what's in it. Don't ask me. I use it though. Hey. Then we got the seasoned meat tenderizer. Duh, we need that. Like what? I think that's evident what it does for the meat. But it's also seasoned. So, bam. Then we got the black pepper. Because we making pepper steak. So I use a lot of the black pepper, okay? Because like I said, I want that pepper taste. Y'all know what it is. Then we use garlic and pepper as well. More seasoning, okay? Garlic, salt. Sprinkle that on there just a little bit though, because you know we've been using a lot of salty stuff, so we don't need too much salt. I like to rub in the seasonings before I go over to the next side because, listen, steak can become flavorless very quickly, and I am not nobody's pro at making steak. This is probably maybe only like the third or fourth time I've actually made steak, so I like to just make sure my seasonings are well marinated in there, okay? So I basically do the exact same thing on the other side. I just season a lot lighter, as you can tell by the appearance. Now that our steak is nice and marinated, we're going to go ahead and use some extra virgin olive oil to, you know, make sure that the steak does not stick. And we're going to be frying this steak today, okay? Once that cast iron skillet is nice and high, you can go ahead and pour your steak in and make sure that you spread it out so it's getting cooked nice and even. Once it gets brown on one side, you want to go ahead and flip that one over. Now, you definitely don't want to forget about checking on your potatoes and your noodles for the macaroni. The potatoes going to take a little minute, but at this point, the noodles were basically done. Now, we're going to go ahead and drain the noodles because they are al dente, honey, okay? Then not too sooner after the potatoes are ready, so we went ahead and drained those and started preparing the potatoes. I threw in a little bit of butter to start melting and then a little bit of milk, and then I threw the potatoes in and got to mashing away. Okay, get you a masher. It makes your life so much easier. I didn't grow up with a masher, so I'm happy we have one now. And then I just stir around, making sure I'm getting all the potatoes. And I go in and mash again. You want to mash to your desired potato. Listen, I don't even know how to explain it. Then I'm going to add some more milk because I like a nice creamy mashed potato. I don't really like mashed potatoes that are like, I don't know. I don't like mashed potatoes that are like really chunky and not flavorful. So as y'all can see, I went ahead and used some of the garlic salt, and now I'm about to go ahead and add some black pepper. I don't get too heavy with the seasonings when it comes to my mashed potatoes. Now I'm adding the butter. Definitely want to make sure you're adding as much butter as you need. I love a good buttery mashed potato, so that's what I was going for. That's what I wanted. Now we're going to go ahead and start mixing that in, and as I'm mixing it in, I'm noticing that, listen, this is way too dry. But I know that the butter is going to melt, so I'm kind of trusting the process a little bit. And just, you got to eyeball it, y'all. If you know you don't want watery mashed potatoes, don't go adding a bunch of milk. Add a little bit of milk, stir. Add some more butter, stir. And as you're adding other ingredients, you definitely got to make sure you're going in and you're adding some more of those seasonings as well. Because then if you keep adding a bunch of butter and milk, it's not going to taste good. Now let's move on to the bad bitch of the meal, the macaroni. We're going to go ahead and add some milk to a pot, and we're going to get that boiling. After that has started boiling, we're going to remove the top, and we're going to start adding in our flour to create our little roux or whatever. I like to whisk in a little bit of flour at a time because I don't need this getting all chunky and thick and stuff like that. After that, I start adding in my block cheese because that's going to take the longest to melt. And then after the block cheese, I add in my Kobe Jack. I start adding in all the shredded cheeses, y'all. I told y'all I had some at the crib. So I used Kobe Jack, cheddar Jack, this 4-steak cheddar cheese, and then finished off with a little bit of the sharp cheddar cheese that I purchased to put on the top. And you want to stir that all in, making sure that nothing is sticking to the bottom. After you get the cheeses all nice and melted, you want to start adding your seasonings. I stick to salt and pepper. That's it. That's all. I don't need my macaroni tasting too crazy. Stir that all in, like I said, making sure you're not burning nothing, making sure that nothing is sticking to the bottom. After you've got that all stirred, you want to taste test, and if your cheese is how you like it, you want to add in the macaroni noodles next. I like to stir that in while it's in the pot, just so I make sure I have a good sauce to macaroni ratio, okay? I don't want my macaroni getting too dry while it's in the oven, so I just want to make sure that I have enough sauce to make sure it's nice and cheesy. Then you want to go in and add cheese to the top. I choose to add sharp cheddar cheese, usually is what I go with, and this is what it'll look like before you put it in the oven. All right, so once we get the mac and cheese in the oven, we start making the gravy. I used the pot from the steak I had already started cooking, and I went ahead and added a little bit more butter, and then I added in my onions and green peppers and started cooking those. Now, I did have another piece of steak, and usually when I cook pepper steak, I cook the vegetables first and then I cook the meat. I don't know why I didn't do that this time, but it's always a different method to my madness, y'all. You just gotta roll with me and rock with me. Okay, so once that pepper steak finished and I finished cooking all the veggies, I went ahead and added some beef broth to that same exact pan. And then I started adding some flour. As you can see, I should have used a whisk during this part, and because I did not use a whisk, the pieces of flour started clumping together and stuff, but it's fine. I ended up going ahead and getting that together. It still ended up mixing. It was not clumps of flour in my gravy, y'all, I promise. So basically, you're just seeing me stir up the gravy. I ended up adding the veggies back in there, and then I had completed the meal. Poured the gravy over the pepper steak, took my macaroni out the oven, and as you can see, it looks scrummedily purr.